Harvard's African Language Program, ALP, has become the preeminent instructional endeavor, experiencing steady growth since its inception in 2003. Immense thanks to the dedicated instructors, teaching assistants, teaching fellows, and preceptors. The ALP ventures beyond the borders of a typical African language program, offering instruction and creating resources for not only indigenous African languages, but also in African Pidgins and Creoles, including Sierra Leonean Creole, Cameroonian Pidgin, and West African Pidgin English, as well as the languages of the Black diaspora, including Gala Geechee, Jamaican Patois, and Haitian Creole. During a typical week, there are approximately 20 different African languages taught on Harvard's campus. This not only makes Harvard one of the most Afrophonic spots on earth, but also makes the ALP a truly global undertaking dedicated to the promotion of Africana ways of knowing, speaking, and communicating. As of fall 2019, the ALP has offered 46 languages, which is a tremendous increase from the 6 languages offered in our pilot semester.
When Anthony Appiah and I came here in 1991, our goal was not only to rejuvenate African American studies, but really to create African studies as an undergraduate concentration and merge African studies with African American studies. And the only way you can have a great concentration in African studies is to build it on a foundation of African languages.
The Department of African and African American Studies is committed to the study of Africa from a historical point of view, from a social scientific point of view, from a humanistic point of view, and also taking in the full performing arts.
So, competitive type that I am, I wanted for us not only to create an African language program, but for it to be bigger, badder, and better than SOAS. We started in 2003, 2002, we got the green light to do an international search for the best person in the world to build an African language program. But they had to be a superlative linguist, but also an entrepreneur, someone who knows how to build an institution. Plus, there are over 1,500 languages on the African continent. Nobody knows all these languages. You're lucky if you can find a person who is fluent in 2 of the lingua francas on the continent, Swahili in the East, say Hausa in the West. That's very difficult to find a person with proficiency in just those 2 languages. So given that, how are you going to teach? Zuri Kabisa. John is a fundi.
And so we had to design an African languages program in 2002 and recruit Professor John Mugani to come and direct the African languages program in 2003. This went hand in hand with the undergraduate degree in African studies. And then we decided that if we had the infrastructure in place, we also could do graduate studies in African studies. The result has been beyond anything we could imagine. African languages have become instrumental, not just in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, but in the professional schools, in the law school, in the medical school, in the School of Public Health, and other schools. Each year, this is reflected in African languages and the disciplines and professions, a conference that brings African languages and the professions together in very instructive ways. African ambassadors, African heads of state, they come to Harvard and they look at the mural at the Center and the African Languages program and cannot believe the number of African languages that we teach. Harvard has become the world's leading institution in the teaching of African languages.
The opportunities for our students to learn about Africa is beyond measure. Just one simple example, the number of African languages that we teach here on campus, 39, more than any other institution in the world.
Students are introduced to not only languages and the speaking of languages, but the cultures that go along with the languages. And I think that makes us really unique.
African languages are taught as living, breathing, dynamic, dimensions of African society in general. And it is so crucial, it seems to me, that as the West tries to know Africa, that it does so not by older colonial means, but by means that really start with a knowledge of the language and an ability to communicate directly.
One has to realize that everything cultural African, everything that captures its arts, its genius, its historical genius, its contemporary genius, ultimately is embedded in language, in the vernacular. And what is extraordinary about the ALP is the atmosphere it infuses in African American studies. The fact that one can walk down this corridor and say something in one of 46 languages and somebody actually understands and can answer it gives this place a vibrancy, a sense of being there even though we are here. It's a jewel in the crown, as Jean says, of African study, of Harvard and of America.
So one of the things I just love about African Theater Night, in addition to listening to the students, it's important to always understand language in relation to culture. In fact,
Hello, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, Johano Mogani. Ó tún wá yọ mí lẹ́nu nígbà tí ó mọ̀ pé mo wà ní ìsinmi. I always brag about this program to friends and colleagues anywhere I go. I say to them that Harvard African Studies has the largest African language program in the world.
The African Languages program in the department is, of course, a crown jewel for us. It is one of the important features of our program as we try to cover the Black world in all its diversity and scope and through time.
So on our 50th anniversary, congratulations to the African Languages program. Congratulations to the Department of African and African American Studies. Congratulations to the Center for African Studies.